top stories tonight. NEC gives September 9 ultimatum to 4 states to submit report on state police. Okuama community leaders sue Nigerian Army DSS for 200 million naira. Nigeria becomes third largest debtor to World Bank's IDA. Climate Rights International reports alleged rights abuses in Uganda. Thank you for joining us. I'm Felicity Ezewike. Let's begin by telling you that President Bola Tinubu has highlighted Africa's vast opportunities for investment, growth and development, citing its vibrant population, productive economy and abundant natural resources. Speaking at a bilateral meeting with Chinese Premier Li Qiang on Wednesday in Beijing, President Tinubu praised the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, for enhancing the partnership between Africa and China, promoting mutual development and prosperity. He emphasized the need for strategic collaboration to ensure that the relationship between Africa and China remains mutually beneficial. President Tinubu in Beijing for the 9th FOCAC Summit expressed gratitude for the warm reception from the Chinese government. Premier Li Qiang affirmed China's readiness to work with Nigeria to advance the comprehensive strategic partnership recently established by President Xi Jinping and President Tinubu.
We are in this journey together. We believe that we can share a very common denominator, which is investment and development, to ensure China and African relationship is encouraged. For me, as a Nigerian, and equally as the chairman of the ECOWAS, I'm happy that the strategic partnership being promoted is acceptable to both sides. And this is the only way to go. Africa is a huge opportunity for economic development. As a great people, I'm willing to partner for progress and development. What is lacking will be the focus of the FOCAC and the areas that we can collaborate to make the relationship mutually beneficial to all of us. I thank you for receiving us.
Anti-corruption experts have tasked Nigeria's federal government to ensure transparency in its extractive sector to help mitigate challenges affecting the sector, ranging from corruption, opaqueness during operations, and adverse effects of climate change. This was during the first International Anti-Corruption and Climate Change Conference, which held in Abuja. My colleague Amadine Uyi tells us more.
It was a 2-day conference organized by Pro-Transparency Organization, HEDA, with the theme, National Stakeholders Engagement for Accountability and Transparency in Addressing Climate Change and Energy Transition. Those in attendance said the discourse will build knowledge expected to transform Nigeria's extractive sector, bettering national consciousness that will bring about transformation in the light of climate change challenges.
From the caliber of accomplished individuals and interests represented in this room this morning, I'm confident that today's discourse will birth a fresh body of knowledge that will be the springboard for radical reforms and transformation of hydrocarbon exploitation and environmental consciousness within the Nigerian oil and gas sector.
Experts say Nigeria's extractive sector faces multiple challenges ranging from a lack of transparency, opaqueness during operations, corruption, and effects of climate change.
Climate change has been variously described as the defining issue of our time today, the single greatest threat to sustainable future, our planet, and our security at large. It's not just an environmental challenge, it's a developmental challenge too, described by somebody as the Everest of all problems.
For most Nigerians, this is a new area completely, and the government hasn't done much to promote and educate Nigerians on the effect of climate change. A road has just been, a contract for a road has just been awarded in Lagos, between Lagos and Calabar, going to traverse about 8 states. There was no consideration at all the effect of climate change as far as that road is concerned.
You have communities in many of all the states in the country with high level of illegal mining, and also with the collusion of state governments and traditional rulers and the rest of that. So for us, accountability mechanisms must be laid as part of the foundation to our transition to the new source of energy.
They also emphasize the need for reforms, especially as Nigeria strives to achieve energy transition. They say government must work towards ensuring that citizens benefit from the nation's resources.
Now facing an era where we need to move from these resources to cleaner forms of energy, we need to be able to optimize the resources that we have in this critical moment to ensure that our people are not left behind.
The focus of the government should not just be about exploiting those natural resources for power generation or resource generation for the government and federation, but ultimately for the development of the people.
They also call on citizens to join efforts aimed at tackling corruption, which also possesses adverse effects on the nation. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Many thanks, Amadine. To discuss this, we're joined by Legal and Program Manager, the Human and Environmental Development Agenda, David Ogungbeson. David, thank you for joining us. Climate change and the extractive sector, what are your thoughts about what is being done to create a balance?
Yes, thank you for having me. This event was organized as an initiative of EDA Resource Center to bring to the forefront the issues surrounding the oil and gas exploitation, the status of the environment where the oil exploration is taking place, and also to bring to the consciousness of stakeholders and the government that we are moving from our usual fossil fuel to clean energy, and then the issue of climate change. So this engagement is to call stakeholders together to discuss the issues surrounding the extractive sector, to brainstorm and to recommend. So after the event, we are going to have a report, which will be part of our advocacy and engagement tools. So this event, the engagement really is to gather issues, is to gather the problem, and then for the stakeholders to also recommend, which would also use to promote our advocacy.
David, what were the highlights of the interaction you had, and what are the key issues that require maybe some real urgent action if change is to be seen?
Yes, thank you. So the event, we had a total of 9 panel sections, and these sections discuss diverse issues. But the germane of it all is that there have been series of pollution, especially in the Niger Delta. And then if we are transitioning, we cannot leave the legacy of pollution behind. So one of the key areas that was mentioned and hammered on is the fact that the environment really needs to be taken care of. If not, oil will finish, and then the environment will be as it is. So the government really needs to take the issue of environmental degradation in host communities seriously and ensure that the environments are cleaned.
Okay, what are the key actions that you require from government at this time? I mean, to start off the process to feel like something is being done.
So from the conference, the key actions taken is that apart beyond legislature that would need to effect these changes, we also need this commitment and then the political will to ensure that not just the IOCs or the money being gotten through the oil are taken care of, but also the needs of the people are also met. So this is a key highlight from the conference to ensure that both the people and then the government angle, there is a balance in between.
All right, David, thank you for speaking with us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
The Court of Appeal on Tuesday proposed an amendment to the Electoral Act that would allow a governor to be sworn in and nominate a new running mate if their deputy is disqualified by a court. The proposal comes in the wake of the Supreme Court's February 13, 2020 decision to sack David Leon of the All Progressive Congress, APC, as governor-elect of Bayelsa State just 24 hours before his inauguration. Leon's election was nullified after his deputy was found to have submitted false information to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. During a 3-day retreat on amendments to the 1999 Constitution and the Electoral Act 2022, the Appellate Court called on the National Assembly to address this anomaly to ensure smoother transitions of power in the future. To get further perspective, we're joined now by legal practitioner Raymond Nkanebe. Raymond, thank you for giving us your time. How would the proposed amendment address the anomaly in the current Electoral Act?
All right, thank you very much, Felicity, for having me, and good evening, Nigerians. So the event you mentioned, rightly so, it was a seminar organized, or a workshop organized by the National Assembly in collaboration with other critical stakeholders in the justice process, particularly the judiciary and also other civil society organizations. And at that session, the Court of Appeal made some number of proposals to the amendment of the Constitution, which will also have bearing on the electoral jurisprudence. I think a couple of them, particularly one that actually stuck out for me, was the proposal that to the effect that in the event where a governor-elect happens to be affected by a disqualification on his or her running mate after they had been voted into office, the disqualification of his running mate should not affect his or her qualification. And that was in response to what happened in Bayelsa in 2020, where the APC and David Leon had won the main election. However, on the back of a pending pre-election case affecting his running mate at the time, that is Mr. Adegi Okuama, it happened that while he was preparing to be sworn into office, this Supreme Court decision disqualifying his running mate's qualification for having been involved in falsification of his educational and other documentation. So it operated to disqualify both of them. And at the time, I recall, some of us in the civil society space took up objections with the Supreme Court's interpretation of that provision of the Constitution, particularly Section 187. But as it turned out, the deed had already been done at the time. So I'm happy that now the Court of Appeal itself, being a very, very critical stakeholder in the election process, has proposed these reforms. And what we're likely to see is that when this proposal becomes the product of a legislative process, then we can be sure that such a situation in the future is not going to repeat itself. And it will have two purposes. The first one is that it's going to increase is going to attain the goals of franchise, because the situation whereby the masses have voted in someone into office, and because of what happens to his or her running mate, it now affects his candidacy.
Yeah, that brings me actually to the other question I'd like you to actually spend a little time on. How does the proposed amendment align with the principles of electoral justice and fairness, like you just highlighted? Because it was an election. People chose a particular person. Whether there was documentation issues or not, this should have been treated before now. So how does that align with these principles?
Yeah, absolutely. That is the major response of this proposal, like you rightly pointed out. So what you can see is that when the masses go to vote, so whoever they voted will eventually become their ruler, as the case may be. In terms of other reforms that were proposed here, we're talking about the speed of determining election matters, and also a case for the finality of election matters to terminate at the Court of Appeal for pre-election cases, and also for governorship and National Assembly elections. The current status quo, you have a situation whereby matters go all the way from the tribunals to the Court of Appeal and all the way to the Supreme Court. This takes so much time, so much resources on the judicial process, and also affects other cases that should be actually be in the docket of the judiciary. So with this proposal, if it becomes an act of National Assembly, which leads to a constitutional amendment, you can see that election matters will terminate at the Court of Appeal stage. National Assembly matters, Court of Appeal stage. Only elections into the office of the president will now make it to the Supreme Court. So I think, in a nutshell, some of these reforms are a response to what stakeholders in the election process have been clamoring for. And I'm happy that the Court of Appeal itself is in the forefront of this advocacy. And I hope the National Assembly picks up some of these proposals and grafts them into legislative bills for possible amendment of the 1999 Constitution.
Raymond, thank you for speaking with us.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll be telling you about the ultimatum given to 4 states on the submission of state police. That is after the break. Do stay with us. The National Economic Council, NEC, has set a deadline of Monday, September 9, for 4 states to submit their reports on the establishment of state police. The NEC plans to adopt comprehensive reports from all 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory on Monday. Any state that fails to meet the deadline will be bound by any decisions made. Speaking to State House correspondents after the NEC meeting, presided over by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the presidential villa in Abuja, Oyo State's acting governor, Abdul Rahim Lawal, stated that all 36 states were expected to submit their reports for consideration. Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi also briefed reporters, noting that NEC had extensively discussed the flood situation affecting various states and acknowledged the federal government's support, including the release of 3 billion naira to provide palliatives for flood victims.
At today's NEC meeting, an update on the establishment of state police was considered. And this was as a result of security challenges that we have across the nation: northeast, northwest, north central, southwest, southeast, south-south, so that we would have a robust security in our nation. And for that purpose, sometime in the past, NEC considered the establishment of state police and asked states to make submissions for consideration. Today, all the states were supposed to submit for consideration of the NEC. Incidentally, 4 states couldn't submit, and for that purpose, NEC decided that those states must make their submissions on or before Monday next week. Otherwise, whatever
decision.
The Nigerian Army says that it is committed to leveraging artificial intelligence in its fight against banditry, insurgency, and other insecurity challenges threatening the peace and stability of the country. Chief of Army Staff stated this during this year's Nigerian Army Heritage and Future Centers Leadership Training for junior commanders in Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria. He says that current security challenges require innovative strategies and advanced use of technology to tackle them. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, completes the report.
Nigeria is faced with an array of security challenges, from the Boko Haram insurgency to banditry, down to kidnapping for ransom and farmers-herders clashes. This over the years has forced the army to also be involved in security operations aimed at tackling criminalities across the country, together with the police.
These emerging threats pose significant challenges to junior leadership, thus pushing the armed forces of Nigeria into unfamiliar situation that requires novel skills and approaches. These, among other situations, demand that junior leadership must be circumspect, adaptive, and responsive.
To ensure junior officers of various units of the Nigerian Army are prepared to confront the evolving security threats, this training has been designed to equip them with relevant technological skills to build their capacity and update their knowledge on latest technological advances.
Seminar will seek to familiarize the Nigerian military junior leaders and commanders to today's security environment and their roles in mitigating them, as well as drawing their attention to possible future challenges and ways in which they will be able to put together technology and their command responsibility in resolving them.
The training is especially going to emphasize the importance of technology and the fact that the battle space is expanding, where there will be no borders, and they need to meet up with that within that space, especially to leverage artificial intelligence and be prepared for that future battle space.
The training targets junior officers from various units of the Nigerian Army, recognizing that they are often the first to respond to distress calls and challenging situations.
Gunmen have reportedly shot a security guard at the Action People's Party Secretariat in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. The attack, which took place at midnight, follows an earlier bombing of the party secretariat in the new GRA area less than a month ago. The state chairman of APP, Sonny Wokekoro, addressed journalists saying details of the shooting remain unclear. He also voiced concerns about the inability of the police to identify the perpetrators, pointing out that no information has been released regarding last month's explosion. Despite these attacks, Wokekoro said the APP remains resolute in carrying out its activities and participating in the upcoming local government elections.
This is becoming an incident that has become too often in Rivers State politics. We are not expert, like we said before, as to identify the immediate or remote cause of this incident, but we are believing that the police will carry out investigation regarding this matter and as much as possible nip it in the bud. It's not our desire that anybody should lose their lives becoming a member of our party.
And to one of our lead stories tonight, two leaders from the Okuama community in Ugeli South local government area of Delta State have filed a lawsuit against the Nigerian Army and the State Security Services seeking 200 million naira in damages. James Ogoroko and Dennis Okubaye, who were among 6 community leaders reportedly arrested by military officials last month, initiated separate suits at the Federal High Court in Warri through their legal team. They are challenging their arrest and prolonged detention without being charged in court or granted access to their lawyers. The claimants are seeking the enforcement of their fundamental rights, including personal liberty, privacy, dignity, and freedom of movement. They have also requested the courts to order their immediate and unconditional release from detention. Coming up, NANS distances itself from planned September 15 protests. That is coming up after this break. Stay with us. Nigeria has now become the third largest debtor to the International Development Association, a branch of the World Bank. Recent financial statements from the World Bank show that Nigeria's debt to the IDA has surged by 14.4%, rising from $14.3 billion in 2023 to $16.5 billion for the 2024 fiscal financial year. This marks Nigeria's debut among the top 3 IDA debtors, up from 4th place in 2023. The 2024 fiscal year, spanning from July 2023 to June 2024, reveals that the Bola Tinubu administration accessed $2.2 billion from the World Bank during this period. To discuss this, we're joined by Chief Economist, ARC Economics and Data Limited, Dr. Samson Simon. Dr. Simon, thank you for giving us your time tonight. What are the implications of Nigeria's rising debt to the IDA on its ability to meet its debt servicing obligations?
Well, it's not a good thing that our debts are ballooning. The current administration inherited a debt to GDP ratio of 38%. We're talking about something in the region of 50% of GDP now in public debt. So that's not really good. But in terms of our debt service to revenue ratio, we have actually improved. Despite the ballooning debt, we have actually improved on that. And that's largely because of the securitization of the ways and means. That has contributed largely because if you look at it, we're supposed to pay monetary policy rate plus 3%. Now that we have securitized, we have brought it down to single digit. So that has helped. But the ballooning debt in itself is also a problem, and that will affect our credit worthiness. So at the moment, and for a while now, our bonds have been considered junk status, so non-investment grade. And by accumulating more debt, we're actually making the situation worse, meaning that we are at risk of default if we continue to accumulate debt as a country.
I think a lot of persons will be interested in how this increased debt burden will impact the country's credit rating and ability to access future loans. What are your thoughts on that?
Debts are actually necessities. There's no country in the world that does not owe or does not borrow. But how you use the funds is what really matters. And you should not just use funds for recurrent expenditure. It's advisable you use the funds that you borrow in capital expenditure where this infrastructure.
No, my question is how the increased debt burden. My question, sorry, Doctor, is how the increased debt burden will impact a future ability to access loans and affect our credit ratings.
I'm coming to that. It's just a preliminary statement before I attack the crux. All right, let me just get to that. So when we accumulate debt and we basically use for deficit financing because our budgets are not balanced, we are creating a problem down the line for ourselves because we may end up using the entire revenue that we generate to pay back loans. And When you do that, it makes you a country that does not have fiscal space to maneuver, and it stops you from doing a lot of things, resources that are better allocated for critical needs like healthcare, education, and infrastructure cannot actually be used that way. And then your credit rating, even though it's poor at the moment, is even going to get worse. We are not at D rating at the moment, but we can actually get the credit rating, the outlook can actually get worse if we maintain this trajectory of accumulating debt over time.
All right, Dr. Simon, thank you for speaking with us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
We can tell you that the National Association of Nigerian Students, NAS, has distanced itself from a planned protest against fuel price hikes scheduled for September 15. In a statement issued on Wednesday, NAS Senate President Afiz Akintaye dismissed the reports as false and baseless rumors that do not represent the position of the association. He also called on security agencies to conduct a thorough investigation to identify the source of the misinformation. Talking about a fuel price hike, we can confirm that Citizens for Democratic Dividends in Nigeria, they've criticized the Nigeria Labour Congress for accusing the federal government of betraying their trust by increasing fuel prices despite agreeing on a new minimum wage of 70,000 naira, lower than the union's original demand. In a statement signed by its executive director, Ahmed Idris, the group accused the NLC of betraying Nigerians by accepting the 70,000 naira minimum wage while overlooking the economic hardships faced by millions. The group also criticized the Joe Ajaero-led NLC for refusing to participate in the nationwide End Bad Governance protest. This comes after NLC President Joe Ajaero, in a statement on Tuesday, accused President Bola Tinubu of a deep sense of betrayal following the recent fuel price hike. To health matters now, a familiar foe returns to Nigeria as the Mpox virus resurfaces for the fourth time since 1971. Despite its reoccurrence, a startling lack of awareness persists, particularly in the nation's commercial hub, Lagos. News Center's Adeshawa Odushoga tells us more.
The Mpox virus has again resurfaced in Nigeria after the last outbreak in 2022. This is about the fourth time the country has recorded cases of Mpox virus since 1971, but surprisingly many Nigerians, especially resident in Lagos, know very little about the disease. For some, it is the first time they have heard anything like this.
But any bí mo ṣe wá gbọ́ sí mo ti gbọ́ lágbọ́yé nítorí tí bá ṣe alábàápàdé ẹ̀.
I think it's more like the chickenpox virus, or probably it's more deadlier than the chickenpox virus. But I don't really know, or we've not really heard much about it.
Mpox, monkeypox. Yes. It's transmitted by maybe animals like maybe bush rats and the likes.
Mpox is transmitted through contact with infected rodent, individuals, or contaminated items. Symptoms typically appear 5 to 21 days after exposure and include fever, body aches, swollen lymph nodes, and skin lesions. Most cases are mild, with recovery occurring within a few weeks.
We don't have a specific vaccine, neither do we have specific drugs that will deal with this virus. So they are mainly supportive therapy at this moment.
In 2022, the World Health Organization renamed monkeypox to Mpox to address concerns about racism and discrimination associated with the term.
It's clear that a coordinated international response is essential to stop these outbreaks and save lives.
As of the time of filing this report, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control says it has recorded 48 cases across 20 states of the Federation, including Federal Capital Territory, with 0 fatalities so far. It has also placed Lagos, Abuja, and 7 other states on high alert as part of its surveillance measures.
As we stand now, we do not have any active cases. Why we are worried is that there is a potential that this virus can be imported into Lagos.
As the situation continues to unfold, health officials are urging Nigerians to take precautions, which include avoiding contact with infected animals, washing hands regularly, and seeking medical attention immediately if symptoms occur. In Lagos, for News Central, Adeshawa Odushoga.
Many thanks, Adeshawa. Away from Nigeria for a bit. A major oil project in Uganda, co-owned by French multinational Total Energies and China's CNOOC, is facing serious allegations of human rights abuses, including sexual violence, forced evictions, and environmental degradation. The $10 billion investment involves drilling for oil in the Lake Albert region of the northwestern Uganda and constructing a 1,443-kilometer heated pipeline to transport crude oil to Tanzania's Indian Ocean port in Tanga. According to reports, residents of village in Kingfisher area have described being forcefully evicted, often with little to no notice by the Uganda People's Defense Forces. Those who spoke to Climate Rights International claimed they were met with threats, coercion, and intimidation when they questioned or opposed the acquisition of their land. We'll go for a short break. When we come back, we have more news. Don't go away. Let's now go over to our business desk for today's business update.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
In business, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission (FCCPC) has dismissed claims of regulating food prices in Nigeria. It clarified that its recent directives aim to curb exploitative practices and promote a competitive market. The statement issued by Ontaje Ijagu responded to concerns from the organized private sector regarding the Commission's directive against price gouging and fixing. The FCCPC emphasized that market prices are determined by supply and demand, and it will not intervene to control prices. It, however, stated that while external factors like foreign exchange fluctuations affect pricing, they do not justify exploitative practices. The Commission further highlighted a case in the cement industry as an example of such conduct, saying a 1-month moratorium has been granted for businesses to adjust before enforcement begins. Nigeria's power generation reached a 3-year high of 5,313 megawatts on Monday, according to the Federal Ministry of Power. The ministry urged electricity distributors to manage the generated energy effectively. Minister Adebayo Adelabu emphasized the need for power distribution companies to accept more energy to prevent grid collapse. A DISCO official noted challenges in accepting additional power due to dissatisfaction with tariffs for certain bands. The ministry also announced a memorandum of understanding with Mutual Commitment Company Limited to assemble electric tricycles and establish a renewable energy training center. Adelabu highlighted the importance of moving towards a distributed power model to increase energy access, particularly for rural areas, and create job opportunities for Nigeria's growing population. The International Monetary Fund stated on Wednesday that South Africa must pursue ambitious fiscal consolidation to ensure sustainable public finances. This follows an IMF visit in July for a post-financing assessment after the $4.3 billion loan provided in 2020 to combat COVID-19 impacts. The IMF emphasized that a durable expenditure-based consolidation of at least 3% of GDP over the next 3 years is essential for reducing debt while protecting vulnerable groups. It urged the new government to build on existing reforms and implement bold changes to tackle long-standing economic challenges. The IMF pointed out issues such as rising debt, high unemployment, and poverty. In response, South Africa's National Treasury reported constructive talks with the IMF, focusing on improving fiscal health and promoting inclusive growth. And finally, in Southern Africa, Telkom SA Limited has received approval from the South African Competition Tribunal to sell its masts and towers business, following a recommendation from the Competition Commission. This approval removes a significant regulatory obstacle for the transaction. Shareholders were initially notified on May 24, 2024, after a meeting where they endorsed the sale of Telkom's masts and towers division, managed by SwiftNet Limited. The assets will be acquired by a consortium that includes an infrastructure fund from a subsidiary of Actis LLP and Royal Bafokeng Holdings infrastructure vehicle. The deal is still contingent on several conditions detailed in a circular sent to shareholders on April 22, 2024, with further updates to be provided as per JSE listings requirement. And that's all thing on business news at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
Up next is Sports Update.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
And in sports, Nigeria's Esther Ogechi Nwogu has won the nation's second medal at the ongoing Paris 2024 Paralympic Games, clinching silver in the women's up to 41 kg para-powerlifting. Nwogu set two new Paralympic records with her last two attempts lifting 112 kg and 118 kg respectively, with China's ZQ setting a new personal record of 119 kg to win the gold medal. Nwogu's effort remains the highest podium finish by any Nigerian athlete so far at the ongoing games. And now to football, Super Eagles defender Olisanda has emphasized the importance of unity and focus ahead of their crucial 2025 AFCON qualifier against Benin Republic. Speaking about the team's defensive lineup, Nda made it clear that the focus is to win irrespective of who starts on Saturday.
I think it's a healthy competition. There's a lot of great players. Obviously, our captain is there, and I think no matter who's starting on Saturday, I think we all have one goal, which is to win and get to the AFCON 2025. So I think that's our priority right now.
The Orlando Pirates defender has been impressive so far this season, leading his club to the South Africa Super 8 final. He last played for the Super Eagles during AFCON 2021 in Cameroon under current coach Augustine Egavoin. Nigeria will confront Benin Republic on 7th September at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, then fly out the next day to face Rwanda on Tuesday, 10th September. Meanwhile, AFCON 2025 qualifiers games were played in different parts of Africa. In Group D, Libya played 1-1 against Rwanda. Group A saw Comoros held at home to Gambia in a 1-1 draw. In Group F, Sudan defeated Niger Republic 1-0. And in Group H, Tanzania played out a goalless draw against Ethiopia. Still talking football, Turkish giant Galatasaray have officially announced that reigning African Footballer of the Year Victor Osimhen has officially joined them on a season-long loan from Napoli. Galatasaray will pay €6 million net to the 25-year-old Nigerian international for the 2024-25 season, the club said in a statement, with Napoli adding that the agreement lasts until the end of June. The 25-year-old striker signed a contract extension with the Italian club last December through to 2026 with a reported release clause of €130 million. Napoli have also reached an agreement with Osimhen that they retain an option to extend his contract until 2027, the Serie A club said in a statement.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
Up next is Entertainment Update.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
Tonight on Entertainment News, Grammy-winning Nigerian singer Tems has responded to the ongoing debate about Afrobeats, offering a perspective that contrasts with recent criticism from Jamaican reggae legend Buju Banton. Tems, whose full name is Temilade Okpeni, emphasized that Afrobeats is a genre rooted in escapism rather than a platform for addressing social issues. The Love Me Jeje singer shared her views in response to Buju Banton's remarks on the Shopping the Sneaker podcast, when he claimed that Afrobeats lacked substance and would eventually fade. Acknowledging Buju Banton's viewpoint, Tem said, "I understand where Buju Banton is coming from. Reggae is not Afrobeats, and Afrobeats in Nigeria is specifically for escapism. That's the purpose of Afrobeats." Her statement underscores the genre's role in providing joy and solace, offering a respite from the challenges of life. Tem's perspective shed light on the cultural significance of Afrobeats in Nigeria, a genre that continues to rise in global prominence despite differing opinions.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
And that's all we have for you tonight. But before we go, let's take an odd look at some of the major stories. NEC has given September 9 ultimatum to 4 states to submit report on state police. Okuama community leaders sue Nigerian Army DSS for 200 million naira. Nigeria has emerged third largest debtor to World Bank's IDA. We also told you that Climate Rights International has reports have alleged rights abuses in Uganda. Just send your eyewitness report to the number showing now on your screen. You can do that as well by following us at News Central TV on all social media platforms. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and on YouTube. As always, thank you for watching. Good night.